Okay, so jumping right in today, we're looking at something that I think is really important, and that is how are our teachers doing?
Yeah,
We talk a lot about well-being and mental health, and I think it's really critical that we talk about the well-being of teachers.
absolutely.
And specifically, this huge issue of burnout that's affecting teachers not only here but globally.
Yeah, it's a global phenomenon.
And
And
it's not just about the well-being of the teachers themselves,
right.
right? It's not just about, oh, let's make sure teachers are happy. It actually has a direct impact on the quality of education that
Absolutely.
students are receiving.
Yeah, the research shows
Mm.
very clearly that teacher well-being is inextricably linked to student outcomes.
Yeah. And for you, the learner that's listening to this,
Yeah,
understanding the factors that are influencing those who are shaping future generations, I mean, that's key knowledge to have.
it is, and it's really becoming more and more recognized as a really significant issue that needs to be addressed.
Yeah. So let's do a deep dive into this topic today.
It's-
And specifically, what we're going to be looking at is what research is out there about different approaches or interventions that are being used to try to improve teacher well-being and tackle this issue of burnout.
Yeah, and there's been a real increase in research in this area in recent years.
And so the good thing is we have some really good material to work with.
We do.
And specifically, we're going to be looking at a recent scoping review
Great.
that was done. And it's a pretty extensive piece of work.
Yeah, scoping reviews are really valuable because they gather together all of the research in a particular area and give us a really good overview of what's out there.
Yeah. And this one was really impressive because it included 46 different studies,
Wow.
over 7,000 teachers, and 15 different countries.
So it's a huge
So it gives us
sample size
a really broad view
and a really good global perspective.
of what's happening in this area.
Yeah.
And what's also really interesting is that they used a variety of different research methods.
Yeah, that's great.
Everything from qualitative studies, which is, really looking at the experiences of
The
individual,
depth.
to quantitative studies, which is more, looking at the numbers, the statistics, the
He's
hard data,
crunching the numbers.
and even some studies that combine the two, which are
Mm.
called mixed methods.
Yeah, mixed methods are really powerful because they allow you to get the richness of the qualitative data and combine that with the rigor of the quantitative data.
Exactly. It's like the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
And I think it's also important to just reiterate how significant this issue of burnout is, because it's not, just about feeling a bit stressed
Yeah.
or having a tough day.
No, it's a much more serious issue than that.
Yeah. The research is very clear that teacher burnout is linked to all sorts of really serious problems,
Yeah.
like emotional exhaustion, like just feeling completely drained and depleted,
Yeah, feeling like you have nothing left to give.
depersonalization, which is
Mhm.
kind of like becoming detached and cynical towards students and the job itself, and reduced personal accomplishment. Like you're not really making a difference.
You feel ineffective.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's obviously a very demoralizing feeling.
And then, the implications of all of this are really concerning because, we see that burnout is one of the major reasons why teachers are considering leaving the profession
Yes.
altogether. And then, as we said before, the well-being of teachers has a direct impact on the well-being and the academic success of their students.
Absolutely.
So it's not just a teacher problem, it's an everybody problem.
It's a societal
Yeah.
problem.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So let's talk a bit about well-being, because I think
Yeah.
it's important to sort of define what we mean by well-being. And when we talk about well-being, it's not just the absence of things like burnout or, depression or anxiety.
Right.
It's more than that.
Right. It's more than just surviving.
It's more like
It's about thriving.
thriving. Yeah, and there's a whole field of research called positive psychology
Yes.
that focuses on this. Absolutely, and I think that's a really important shift in focus because for a long time, psychology was very much focused on mental illness and trying to fix problems. But positive psychology really shifts the focus to understanding and boosting well-being
Yeah.
rather than just alleviating ill-being.
And there are these two kind of perspectives on well-being, aren't there?
Yeah.
There's the hedonic view,
Yes.
which is more about pleasure and happiness, and then there's the eudaimonic view, which is more about purpose and meaning.
Absolutely. And I think both are important and both contribute to our overall sense of well-being.
Yeah, and so this leads us to a really helpful framework, I think, that has come out of positive psychology.
Yeah.
And that's the PERMA model,
The perma.
which was later expanded to PERMA-H.
Yes.
And this is a really, I think, helpful way to look at well-being because it's kind of like a roadmap
Yeah,
for well-being.
absolutely.
So let's break down this acronym.
Okay.
PERMA-H. What does it stand for?
So it stands for Positive Emotions, Engagement, Relationships, meaning accomplishment and health.
Okay, so those are the 6 components of PERMA-H.
Yes.
And the idea is that by nurturing these 6 areas,
Yeah,
individuals can achieve a state of flourishing.
exactly.
Yeah.
And it provides a really useful lens through which to view teacher well-being.
Yeah, because you can sort of look at what might be affecting their well-being
Yes.
in terms of those 6 areas.
And how different interventions might be addressing those different areas.
Right, yeah. Okay, so this review that we're looking at
Yes.
also sort of highlights the fact that defining teacher well-being is not
Not as simple as it sounds.
as straightforward as it sounds.
Yeah, it's a very multifaceted concept.
There isn't one kind of scientifically agreed upon definition, is there?
No, there isn't.
But broadly speaking,
What are some of the key components?
well, broadly speaking, it includes experiencing positive emotions,
Okay.
a sense of balance between their work environment and their own personal needs. So that work-life balance thing.
Exactly. Yeah, having a good balance between the resources available to them and the demands of their job.
Right. So feeling supported,
Feeling supported.
having the resources that they need to do their job.
Absolutely. And feeling valued and supported in their role.
Right. So respected and
Yeah.
appreciated.
Yeah.
And then on the flip side of that, we have burnout,
Yes.
which, as we've said, is kind of a key indicator that things are not going well.
Yeah. It's a
Yeah.
sign that things are out of balance.
And this review that we're looking at uses the kind of standard definition of burnout.
Yes.
Doesn't, in terms of those 3 dimensions?
Yeah. A widely accepted model
Yep.
defines burnout through 3 interconnected aspects.
Right.
Emotional exhaustion. So that feeling of being completely drained and depleted.
Yeah.
Depersonalization, which involves becoming detached and even cynical
Yeah.
towards students and the job itself.
Yeah.
And then reduced personal accomplishment.
Right. That feeling of not making a difference.
Exactly. Yeah, where teachers start to feel ineffective and like they're not making a real impact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with all of that as background,
Yeah.
what we're going to do in this deep dive today is look at the different types of interventions
Okay.
that researchers have been looking at to try to address this issue.
Great.
So we're going to look at what those interventions involve, how they connect with this PERMA-H model,
Yes.
and most importantly, what kind of outcomes they've reported
Yeah, the evidence for their effectiveness.
in terms of improving teacher well-being and reducing burnout.
Great. So giving people a really clear picture of what's out there and what seems to be working.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So just to start off, I was really interested to see in this review that the majority of the interventions that were studied were really focused on individual well-being
Yeah, that's right.
of teachers.
Even though often they were delivered in group settings.
Yeah. So it might be, a group program, but it's still really focused on the individual.
Yeah, an individual.
And there wasn't so much focus on interventions that were aimed at sort of the entire school community.
Yeah, that's an interesting observation.
Yeah. I wonder if you have any thoughts about that.
Well, I guess it's possibly that individual interventions are a bit more straightforward to implement
Yeah.
and evaluate within a research framework,
Right?
measuring impact on an entire school community.
It's so much more complex.
Can be much more complex.
Yeah.
And, you're involving a lot more variables and the studies might need to be longer term to really capture those effects.
Yeah, it's like a whole systems approach.
Exactly. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think that might be part of the reason.
Okay, so, but they did identify 7 kind of themes, I guess you could say, that emerged
Yeah.
across these interventions.
Yeah, 7 key themes.
So what were some of the main approaches that they saw in the research?
Well, they saw interventions that focused on physical activity.
Okay, so like exercise and movement.
Yeah, exactly. And interestingly, that was only represented by a single study in this review.
Really just one study?
Just one study.
Wow.
And then there were interventions that focused on mindfulness and meditation techniques,
Okay.
professional development,
Hmm.
so interventions aimed at enhancing teaching skills or stress management.
All right.
They also found interventions that specifically combined mindfulness practices with professional development.
Okay, so taking those 2 things together.
Interesting. And then they also looked at therapy-based interventions.
So things like cognitive behavioral therapy.
Exactly. Yeah, things
Yeah.
like acceptance and commitment therapy, or CBT.
Yeah.
Gratitude practices, encouraging teachers to focus on the the positive aspects of their lives and their work.
Okay.
And then interventions that incorporated a mix of different activities.
Okay, so kind of a more holistic view.
Yeah, a bit of everything.
Okay, so those are the 7 themes.
That's right.
One of the things that really jumped out at me from this review was the prevalence
Yeah.
and the positive results associated with mindfulness-based interventions.
Yeah. Yes, mindfulness is a really hot topic at the moment.
Yeah.
And for good reason. The evidence for its effectiveness is really growing.
Yeah, and it seems like it was particularly effective for teachers,
Yeah.
both when it was used on its own as a standalone intervention, but also when it was integrated with professional development
Yeah, that's right.
programs. So I wonder, what do you think it is about mindfulness that makes it so beneficial in this context?
Well, I think mindfulness practices are really helpful because they involve cultivating present moment awareness
Okay.
without judgment. So it's about really paying attention to what's happening in the present moment,
Right.
both internally and externally.
Without getting carried away by your thoughts and
Oh,
feelings.
exactly. Yeah. And that can be really helpful for teachers because it can help them to become more aware of their stress responses
Okay.
and develop better coping mechanisms.
So they're not so reactive
Exactly.
to the stresses of the job.
Yeah, and the research consistently shows that mindfulness interventions can lead to significant reductions in burnout
Yeah.
and stress levels.
I mean, that in itself is huge.
It is huge, yeah, but the benefits don't stop there. Studies have also reported improvements in overall well-being, greater resilience in the face of the challenges,
Which teachers face every day.
which teachers face every day, absolutely,
Right.
and even a more positive and supportive atmosphere in the classroom.
So it's like this ripple effect
Yeah, it really is.
that by helping the teacher to manage their own internal state,
Yeah.
it actually has a positive impact on the learning environment.
And I think that's because teachers who are more mindful are more present with their
Yes.
students. They're more able to connect with them.
Right.
And they're also more able to respond to their needs in a more compassionate and understanding way.
Yeah. So it's not just about reducing the negative. It's also about enhancing the positive.
Exactly.
Okay. So professional development was another
Great theme.
major theme that emerged.
Yeah.
And what did the review reveal about its impact on teacher well-being?
So the findings on professional development were a bit more mixed.
Okay.
Some professional development interventions were shown to be really effective in improving teacher well-being,
Okay.
particularly those that focus on things like boosting teachers' self-efficacy.
Which is their belief in their own abilities.
Exactly. Yeah. So helping teachers to feel more confident in their own abilities.
Right.
Also, interventions that aim to increase teachers' engagement with their work.
Okay. So feeling more passionate and enthusiastic.
Exactly. Yeah. And that they're making a difference.
Yeah.
And also interventions that provided teachers with strategies for managing burnout.
Right.
So giving them practical tools and techniques that they can use to deal with the stresses of the job.
Okay, so those kinds of professional development programs were shown to have a positive impact on teacher well-being.
Yeah.
However, it wasn't a universal success story.
No, that's right. Some professional development programs, particularly those that focused on social emotional learning or classroom management techniques.
Okay, so more focused on the students.
Yeah, more focused on student outcomes.
Didn't necessarily show improvements in the teacher's well-being,
Yeah, and I think that raises an important point
which is,
that professional development that's aimed at improving student outcomes might not always directly translate
yeah,
to improvements in teacher well-being.
right. It's like you need to focus on the teachers themselves.
Yeah, you need to specifically target teacher well-being.
Yeah.
If you want to see improvements in that area.
Okay, so it's not enough to just provide any old professional development.
No, it needs to be tailored.
It needs to be the right kind.
Yeah, to the specific needs of teachers.
Right, and with that focus.
Yeah.
Okay. What about some of those other areas that weren't researched as much, like the gratitude interventions or the therapy-based interventions?
So there were fewer studies in these areas, but the findings were promising. Gratitude interventions, which involved encouraging teachers to regularly reflect on and appreciate the positive aspects of their lives, showed positive effects on their well-being and appeared to act as a buffer against burnout.
Okay, so that's really interesting.
Yeah.
So just by focusing on the good things,
Yeah, focusing on what you're grateful for.
it can actually help to protect you against burnout.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's because gratitude helps us to shift our perspective and to focus on the positive rather than the negative.
So even when things are tough, There's still good things to be grateful
Ac-
for.
Absolutely. Yeah, and remembering those good things can really help us to cope with the challenges.
Yeah. And what about the therapy-based interventions? What do they find there?
So, therapy-based interventions, such as acceptance and commitment therapy,
Yeah.
also demonstrated effectiveness in helping teachers to manage difficult thoughts and emotions,
Okay.
to reduce their stress levels, and to enhance their sense of self-efficacy. So feeling more effective in their role.
Yeah. So those more targeted approaches can also be really valuable.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've got, mindfulness, we've got professional development, we've got gratitude, we've got therapy-based interventions.
Yeah.
Uh, how do all of these interventions align with that PERMA-H model that we talked about before?
That's a really key question.
Yeah.
Um, and the researchers found that the vast majority of the interventions that they looked at
Yeah.
actually incorporate elements that related to the PERMA-H model.
Really? Even though they weren't explicitly designed
Yeah,
with that in mind?
that's right.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, so 43 out of the 46 interventions
Wow.
incorporated elements that related to the PERMA-H model.
So that's pretty much all of them.
Yeah.
Wow.
And the components that were most frequently addressed were engagement relationships and positive emotions.
Okay, so 3 of the 6
Yeah.
were really heavily represented.
Yeah, and that suggests that those are really key areas to focus on if we want to improve teacher well-being.
Okay, so tell me a bit more about how those 3 components were addressed in the interventions.
Okay, so engagement was often facilitated through mindfulness practices that encourage focus and immersion in the present moment.
Right, so being more present in your work
Exactly.
and less distracted.
Yeah, and that can lead to a greater sense of satisfaction and enjoyment in the work.
Right.
Relationships were often addressed either implicitly through group-based interventions,
Okay.
so just by bringing teachers together and giving them an opportunity to connect with each other,
Yeah.
or explicitly through training and communication skills.
Right.
And then positive emotions were often fostered through things like gratitude exercises or the development of emotional regulation skills.
Okay, so helping teachers to manage their emotions more effectively.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so that's really interesting that those 3 components were so heavily represented in the interventions.
Yeah.
But you also mentioned that there were some components that were notably absent.
Yes, that's right.
And what were those?
So the researchers found no interventions that specifically targeted meaning or accomplishment.
Okay, so 2 of the 6 components were completely missing.
Yeah, that's right. And I think that's a really significant finding.
Yeah. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think it's possible that meaning and accomplishment are more challenging to influence through sort of typical intervention formats.
Yeah. So it's not just about, doing a gratitude exercise.
Exactly.
Or going to a professional development workshop.
Yeah, it might require something
Like
more.
from death.
Yeah, something more systemic.
Yeah. I wonder if it's also because the research has really focused more on kind of those immediate stressors.
Yeah,
Like workload and emotional demands and things like that.
possibly. Yeah.
And maybe meaning and accomplishment are seen as more kind of long-term
Yeah, more distal.
goals.
Yeah.
But I do think that those are really critical because feeling like your work has a purpose
Absolutely.
and seeing the impact that you're having, I think that's so important for sustaining well-being
It's fundamental.
in any job, really,
Yeah.
but especially in a demanding profession like teaching.
Absolutely. And I think that's a really important area for future research.
Yeah, like what would an intervention
Yeah.
designed to enhance meaning and accomplishment even look like?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah.
I'd love to see more research in that area.
Yeah, okay. And we also talked about community well-being before.
Yes.
And that also seems like it was an area that didn't receive as much attention
Yeah, that's right.
in the research.
Despite the fact that there's a growing body of evidence suggesting that interventions that target the school community as a whole
Yeah.
can be really effective
Yeah.
in fostering a more supportive and positive environment for teachers.
It's like that whole idea of a rising tide lifts all boats.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's really important because teachers don't exist in isolation.
Right. They're part of a community.
They're part of a community.
And so if we want to improve teacher well-being, we need to look at the whole system.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think that's another area where more research is needed.
Yeah.
And the development of strategies that focus on building stronger connections and a greater sense of collective well-being among educators.
Okay, so to wrap up,
Yeah.
we've taken a pretty deep dive into this topic of teacher well-being and burnout.
Mm.
And we've looked at this really comprehensive review of interventions
Yeah.
that have been studied. And I think, one of the key takeaways is that while most of the focus has been on individual level interventions, there are some approaches that seem really promising,
Yeah.
like mindfulness-based practices and well-designed professional development programs.
Absolutely.
And then we also talked about the potential of gratitude and therapy-based interventions
Yeah.
and this sort of underexplored area of interventions that target meaning accomplishment and community well-being.
Yeah, and I think the PERMA-H model is a really valuable framework for
Hmm.
both understanding the different facets of teacher well-being. Yeah.
And for designing future interventions.
Even though it wasn't always explicitly used in the studies that we looked at,
Yeah,
but the fact that so many of the interventions naturally addressed those components of the model, I think speaks to its validity.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so for you, the learner, listening to this, we really encourage you to think about this issue of teacher well-being and its impact on the broader educational landscape.
Absolutely.
What do you think about the different approaches that we've talked about today?
Yeah.
Which ones do you think hold the most promise
Yeah.
for creating a really thriving environment for educators and the students that they serve?
And what questions does this raise for you
Yeah.
about how we can best support those who dedicate their lives to this incredibly important work?
Yeah, it's a complex issue, but it's one that I think is really worthy of our attention.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Thanks for having me.
We'll see you next time.
See you then.